Thank you for joining us for a Fox Weather ROWI report. It's Thanksgiving. It's Turkey Day week. We know that means a lot of travel. That means a lot of football. And we actually have some big risk of weather impacts while you're tuning in to the ROWI report. Thank you for being with us here on week 13 in the NFL. I want to show you a broad view of what the lower 48 is going to be like on Thanksgiving. Notice the northern tier draped in that blue. That means some snow potential through the Great Lakes and into the interior northeast. Down south of there, quiet, mild, albeit even warm down in Florida. So a big component of this is where's the active weather? This is on Turkey Day. Of course, we got 3 games that day, but what about the weekend? We have a post-Thanksgiving storm that's going to impact 40-plus states, and there's a variety of snow, rain, sleet, intense lake effect snow. We got everything lined up. So we're going to dive into this as we progress through the pod today. But let's start off with Turkey Day itself. There's 3 games on Thanksgiving. Only one of them is going to be outdoors. And so we find ourselves at M&T Bank Stadium, Baltimore, Maryland, Thursday night, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. You just had yourself a lovely Thanksgiving. You're now fighting off the tryptophan that's threatening to put you comatose and put you to sleep. But instead, you turn on the TV, and now you're watching the Bengals and the Ravens. And the question is the weather going to be part of this? Not really. It's a low-end opportunity as we look at this. Look at the temperatures, though. It's a cold one. And the wind is still breezy, 10 to 15 miles an hour, which means that this whole game is going to be felt sub-freezing the entire time. But you got 2 northern teams playing on Thanksgiving. I don't think this gives you an advantage either direction. And really, we're going to blitz through this one because I think the Ravens are going to handle this. But now we start talking about Friday. This is when that post-Thanksgiving storm really starts to set up. And what I think is so important is look at the Midwest and that intersection of green meets blue. You have the clashing of the 2 air masses. You got this Arctic blast where eventually out of this, you're going to have the air, the coldest of the season so far, arrive out of the North Pole. That's a couple days from now. But you have the warmth and humidity from the south, the collision course, the electricity, the volatility of the atmosphere. It plays out right through the Midwest. And so that's going to be a big component because we have so many games that are just on either edge of this, and there's going to be some influence. So let's talk about the Bears. They've been looking actually pretty decent this year. Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, though, so they're going home to the Eagles as we take or to the home of the Eagles. This is a Friday. This is a weird game, right? Time frame, 3 p.m. on Friday, and we're looking at a major potential for a wind event. Now, if you looked back on that, the wind truly starts to pick up over the weekend. Since this is actually a Friday game, you're looking at a medium risk of weather impact. Overall, when you get the average of the temperature and the rain expectation, it remains at medium. But the wind, especially at the start of the game, sustained at 20 miles an hour, that is going to play a big factor early in the game, I believe. Whether it's just talking about possession, where you're going to be, starting off your drives versus who's going to want to actually kick some field goals early in the game to build some of that momentum. I think for the latter half of the game, hopefully this is going to be remaining a good one. You got 2 very competitive teams, 2 teams that are looking really good. I think the weather at the back end of the game is going to be relatively, chilly, nothing bad, and I think the wind's going to lighten up, so you could have a late game thriller there in Philly. Now, let's talk about the weekend games because we have this massive system. Remember, 40 different states. Look at the time frame. If you're able to see this, I know we're an audio platform as well. On social media, you have the opportunity to view this. This is Saturday and Sunday. You have 2 dominant high pressures that are going to allow this convergence zone right in the heart of the country. And those areas that we highlighted, Wisconsin, Chicago, Detroit, all of these expecting major snow events. And so this is really going to be the Midwest through the Great Lakes. That's going to play out on Saturday. Notice the low pressure on Sunday then blitzes through Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. So there are components of this that will be impacted by this game as we get towards Sunday. And we look at some of those teams that could be playing in these elements. I mean, here's a broad view of Sunday from Chicago to New York to obviously up into areas like Buffalo where there could be some type of influence. New York, you're right on the outer edge of this event, but still enough to get some of that rain and wind. So here's a full slate of games. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of risk of weather impact. So, of course, I don't do this alone. Let's bring in Dr. ROWI himself. Jared, it's good to see you. I want to get through the early games quickly.
Oh, we got to go through
because we got a
lot of. This is the biggest week of ROWI of the year, going across college and pros, with just the amount of this post Thanksgiving storm is wreaking havoc. Now, for the college, I really do recommend you stick around tomorrow to go listen about the college games, because we have a whole lot cooking. But even with the NFL, there's a lot, and we're ending a lot of people last week of the regular season for your fantasy team.
True.
You know, the playoffs are coming up. This is a big weekend here. You want to make sure that your starts and sits are set up right.
Yeah, and some of those positions that you may have changed weekly, like defense or your kickers, are all predicated off of this, right? Because you're looking at a lot of games that are going to be impacted. If you get on the waiver wires or you secure it early, you don't have to worry about, okay, can I find a game that's not going to be influenced right now or impacted? Obviously, we do have some dome games. Maybe that's going to be your best option if you're a kicker. But looking at the defense, that may be something that we need to talk about here, Jared, as we dive into some of these games is, okay, do some of these defensive matchups look a little better because the overall weather just looks brutal? By the way, many of these games we're talking about are going to be on the south side of this. It's going to be rain, but I think I just want to address this right off the bat. This is going to be a cold rain, and cold rain is different than what we've talked about in recent months, even different than the summertime rain. It's just nasty, dude. It's just something you don't want to play in because you're just uncomfortable the entire time, and you can't warm up. Like, that's the thing with rain, is once it starts coming down and you start getting that cold wind, just end the game. It's just like, it feels awful out there. But you got two relatively southern teams. I know this is going to be at Nissan Stadium, Nashville. It's a home game for the Titans, but Titans look awful. So the Jags are just trying to secure another W to make some type of push. But this is a Florida team playing in an environment that feels anything but Florida-like,
Yeah, I mean, so Tennessee played way better last week, and I think that was a game that slipped under the radar.
True.
That Seahawks-Titans game. They may be rounding into shape a little bit more. This rain, I would say, plays into Tennessee's favor. Jacksonville has the much better offense out of the two. And I definitely recommend starting the Jaguars' defense against the Titans in this little bit of a sloppy mess here. But overall, Tennessee, the rain should slop this game up. Really.
Yeah.
It really should, and this should be a relatively lower scoring game. Now, this is like the Thursday Night Invitational. It's infamous for being like low quality football over the past 20 years that these teams have been going at it. But here you really don't want to necessarily be locking in on any of these skill position options. Even the Titans have the split backfield. It's really ETN is the guy that should stand okay out of this. Everyone else should be negatively impacted by this rain.
He should be feasting. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't feel confident with anybody. ETN, hopefully they're going to get him the rock, and they start to establish, and he should get plenty of opportunities in this when you look at the rain. But we have some other games that are going to be impacted by the rain and the wind. I think it even reaches a greater threshold. This is one of them. I mean, when you're on the southern shores of Lake Erie, I think the wind, the way it's situated as of right now with the latest model runs, Huntington Bank Field should be, in kind of the bullseye zone, but it's more of a westerly wind, which would get you to the other end of the lake, but still precipitation impact, which we are looking at with this to be predominantly rain, is going to be a factor. But I think the wind is the constant steady, something that we were talking about here on the Fox Weather stream, but even behind the scenes with the entire team. You were in the meeting, you heard Greg talk about the wind event has been undersold, right? We've already seen, we're talking to you on a Tuesday, the Midwest has already had a blockbuster blizzard event, and that's the storm before Thanksgiving. The storm after Thanksgiving is anticipated to be even potentially worse for your travel, for your football. And so when you're looking at this, we are a long ways out. We're talking about a Sunday, and we're already looking at sustained winds easily in the 20-mile-per-hour range, and we had talked about rain and wind together and a cold rain. I mean, I think there's enough of this that looks like it could be maybe sleet, maybe this kind of like in-between zone where you're just kind of like, I can't grip anything right now because it's like this glaze that's on the field, it's on the ball, the jerseys, like the line. I think that gets overlooked at times, Jared, when we see this is a lot of linemen, like if you listen to people, they talk about you could call holding on every single play. Because when you get up in those pads and you're gripping them like that, you get a good hold. But when you get a game like this, you get Myles Garrett out of the fucking doghouse and you just take him with his leash off and there's no way to even touch him because he's just sliding off him. I mean, how do you stop this? You know what I'm saying? Like, this looks like a defensive matchup where I'm just like, all right, give me either one. I don't care. Like, the Browns, I know they can't score, but I don't feel like you can score against us because Myles Garrett is going to be in your house, in your living room, cooking up dinner and eating your turkey by the time you can even get the snap. That's how I feel about this game.
Yeah, the Niners have a plethora of offensive weapons, but they really struggled in that Carolina game on Monday night. And this is going to be like that had no weather problems whatsoever. This one can be a bit sloppier. The one thing that is a positive is that this is going to be sort of on that back end of the storm. So the timing, if you get in a little bit faster, can make it so that you really have just those post-storm winds and reduce the rain factor a little bit. And that's what's keeping it at medium are those rain chances. Now, granted, if we do switch over to a more mixed wintry precipitation, the ROWI does increase with that.
Yeah.
Internally, if that gets triggered like this, that would probably push this to a high ROWI.
And that's a big thing. There's two components right now because I think we're battling between the Euro and the GFS. There's different timings of this. I think it's leaned a little more towards the Euro, the faster end of things. So to your point, why you're looking at the back end of this, man. Let's say it slows down. Then you're still looking at the heart of the event. It extends it out. But let's say it does speed up even further. Then you're dealing with that cold air support even further. So you're looking at either way this times out. If it does not hold true to the speed at which we're talking about right now on a Tuesday, and it does change a little bit, which is likely, you know, you talk about these things 5-6 days out, build that awareness. Either bookend of that, you still have a major weather scenario that you had to play out, which just makes it a game where you're almost locking in on one of those type of factors where I feel better locking in on a defense and staying away from the kickers right now because it doesn't look good. But we'll even get into spots away from the Great Lakes. We're still in the Northeast, still looking at this low that's moving through Eastern Canada, enough of an influence, a major wind event, and still some of that rain that's going to be moving in towards northern New Jersey. You find yourself at East Rutherford, and you're watching MetLife where the Jets are trying to take on the Falcons. And I think with this game, you're still looking at, I mean, out of the games we looked at so far, if I had to battle through all this stuff, I feel better about this one than the first two we just talked about, but still not a game I feel great about with temperatures in the mid-40s, but just the constant rain that will be present throughout it.
Yeah, so this is the opposite side of the Cleveland problem where like a faster storm is going to make it so that there's more problems in New York. As you see here, we start off the road with the low as the storm is currently setting right now, pushing into that medium category. The Jets, you don't really want to be starting anybody on that Jets offense. But the Falcons, they do have a couple of fantasy viable weapons, and the forecast, if it trends a little bit faster, it's going to be worse for them. And you wouldn't necessarily want to start as many Falcons. Besides Bijan Robinson, he's untouchable, and he's a guy where, you know, rain and wind lead to shorter passes too. You get those extra dump offs. You might actually even score slightly more.
I think so too.
It's really just the receiving options that you want to be a little more tentative on. Look for other games for other options, especially from better offenses.
I think what the big thing with Bijan Robinson, I remember the first year we did the podcast, we talked with Melvin Gordon, right? And he had said the big thing for us as running backs is we know where we're going. The defense doesn't. So when you start talking about deteriorating field conditions and you start looking at people slipping on the turf a little bit, this actually favors the ball carrier, right? Because maybe their plant foot isn't as stable, but Bijan, now I'm not sure if Bijan even knows what he's going to do at times because it just seems superhuman, but he knows that he kind of wants to either juke or he wants to spin, you know, and he's going to have the athleticism, they'll pull it off, whether his foot's on the ground or not, versus the defender doesn't. So it's kind of one of those things that, it almost feels like this favors, and you start looking at, okay, he's going to get more reps, he's going to get more touches, and when you give somebody of that caliber more opportunities, they usually capitalize. So something interesting to watch. This next game is exciting, and I think I just have to start off with a big apology to Carolina Panthers and their fan base. Now, I know that nobody listens to us from the Carolina Panthers because they don't really have any fans. But I just want to say sorry because I've been saying they should be relegated. And then I start looking at their record. And I mean, it just shows you how abysmal this division is. But they're actually like relevant. And I don't know how. I don't know if I've just like fallen asleep. But I'm hoping that the Rams come in here and show you what an actually good team in a tough division is like versus just a completely sorry division and a mediocre team gets elevated. That's what I want the Rams to set records on this. And I say all of that by saying I'm sorry to the Panthers that I've called you out. But also, this speaks to the NFL, Jared, about the parity in the league this year, just how exciting it is as we're starting to watch this. And guess what? Right when it matters the most, not only for you and your fantasy like we've talked about, but for these teams where they got to secure the W, the weather comes in and plays a factor. Like all season, we've had kind of isolated games where there could be some type of impact. We are now in the heart of when weather really starts to matter. Now, I say all of that with, again, this game, you got some rain in it. I don't think it's going to be enough to slow down the Rams. Have just impressive. I saw something here too. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but Stafford was so great at Detroit, and people are just so pissed off in Detroit saying he's going to be forever remembered as a Rams because he's just so good that it's like he spent so long with Megatron, and you think, okay, he's got to be remembered as a Lion, and it's like no, he's rewritten a second chapter of his legacy that he's going to be defined as a Rams because they're just so good this year as well.
Yeah, and there's the Hall of Fame conversation. Can Stafford get that MVP? Because it really, I think that's going to be the difference between him making the Hall of Fame or not. It's not easy to get into the NFL.
No, he's going to make the Hall of Fame, I think, regardless.
Oh, Steve, everyone always says that about everyone.
No.
Look at the list this year and see the names you have to cut from the Hall of Fame this year because you only get like 4 to 5 slots at most.
I feel like people realize that Detroit was a dead zone before he came there. Yeah. And I don't know. I agree. I mean, it's going to help him. If he gets the MVP. Here's the thing, though. Nothing has to do with Stafford. I just don't want him to get the MVP because I don't want a quarterback to get the MVP. It's just so annoying. Look at the Seahawks and the receiver, JSN,
Jackson,
right?
Yeah, Jackson Smith.
Yes, he's insane.
I love him.
He's in 12 games, he's already set the franchise record for receptions? Like, what? And then you go to Indianapolis and you start looking at the running back, Taylor.
He didn't have the best game this week.
Whatever. He's allowed to have 1 week off, man. All right? How much PTO time you got? All right? You get 1 week, you're allowed off. All right? I want one of these skill positions to be recognized and thriving. All right? I just don't want a quarterback to win. But if it helps solidify Stafford's legacy into the Hall of Fame, then sure. And that's all we're going to say about this because that's how little I care about the Panthers. All right, I said sorry, but I didn't really mean it. I didn't really mean it.
I do want to say in terms of rainfall intensity, which is why the reason why it's lower is that it's a little bit more scattered and the intensity is not that heavy. The wind is fairly low. The temperatures are fairly mild. So mild for at least late November. So all of that is why it is low despite the rain at that point. It can trend up to
it can trend to a medium.
That's why we're monitoring that.
And the Carolina Panthers maybe can make the playoffs. Maybe whatever. All right. Yeah, no, you're right. That's why we put them in. That's why Jared put them in the pod. I put them in the pod just so I could put them on full roast. All right. I got you with thinking I was saying an apology, and that was my Trojan horse, just to tell you, get out of my face. All right, let's talk about equally as dismal team, my Dolphins.
The team that you actually like here.
Yeah, I'm supposedly like them. And I spent time. I lived in Louisiana. I like the Saints, all right. But what are we even doing?
We got a little bit of dry season thunderstorm action.
Yeah, this was actually kind of surprising. I'm kind of bummed out. I usually spend this week down in Florida with my family, and I looked down there. I was like, why have I never worried about the snow during Thanksgiving like I am this year? And I was like, oh, it's because I spent it in Florida, and this is what they have. They're in the lower 80s, but as you had mentioned, a little kind of blockbuster thunderstorm event that could set up. And a reminder, all the games that we've talked before this looks like it's going to stay sub-severe. So you're playing through it. Too bad. Get out there in the freezing rain or whatever comes down. But for this game, maybe you'll get a delay. If it's close by 8 miles, then you may get that 30-minute delay. And, hopefully the game improves after that.
Truthfully, it really seems like you would get like a delay, then you would have low ROWI conditions afterwards. This is the perfect time of year in Florida once you get past those storms. So really, that's all we got to say about that.
And then we take it out to FedEx Field. This is Landover, Maryland. This is going to be the late game on Sunday. And look, that risk of weather impact in the medium category, it's not just the precipitation, it's going to be rain, but the wind impact. That's a big factor in all of this, is the wind coming in. Now, I know right now low threshold at 5, but it's all dependent on the speed at which the storm is moving. We've talked about that. So if there's any slowing in the nature of all of that, I think the big thing for all of this too is we've been talking about on the Fox Weather stream, travel. And if you're stuck in the airport, here's the good news. They got football playing in the airports. So you're going to have plenty of football to watch, and you can look at what that's going to be like as you're stuck in your delay. Hopefully no cancellations for you. But overall, we're going to be looking at some types of impacts there. This is the game I wish each week, Jared, we could take a game and we could move it from whatever the home stadium was to the away stadium. Because this would be my week's pick. Because I wish we were playing in Buffalo. They are about to get a blockbuster snow event. Lake Effect Snow that's going to start literally Wednesday, tomorrow, and it's not going to end all the way through the weekend. This thing is going to bury Buffalo. But instead, we're going to Steel City, so Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. Still going to have big impacts, though, but those temperatures should be just above freezing, where it's going to make it that kind of nasty, cold rain again, but at least you're not buried at Orchard Park. So either way, I think this is going to be a fun game, and this is, by the way, a game that the Buffalo Bills, I mean, it's almost a must-have at this point. You got to start showing up.
Both these teams, this is a must-win game. The loser of this game is really on the outside looking in for the playoffs. So,
yeah,
absolutely need something to happen. The other thing, I'm actually going to be in Pittsburgh this weekend, hoping for low conditions. Oh yeah,
you're gonna be Acrisure?
I'm going to be at Acrisure.
Are you gonna have a terrible towel?
No,
okay.
It's Pitt versus Miami.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Nice.
So we have low ROWI for that.
Nice. I was like, what is happening? Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm all over the place. I'm in Virginia. I'm in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you were in Virginia.
All of that stuff going on to say for that game. Truthfully, the temperatures are not as bad as it could be. It's like sort of like on that area where you start to get like a little rougher, getting closer to the freezing line. That's why it's staying at that medium level and not going to a higher spot. Giants, Pats.
That was, Jared was just talking about, of course, the Steelers hosting the Bills. Yeah. I fast forward just because we're getting towards the end of the pod. I went on a rant. You know, that happens here.
Yeah,
and we're looking at the Patriots.
There's a lot to cover here.
Arguably, maybe the best team in the league right now. Like, one of, easily. Obviously, they're dominant. Outperform. I know, right? I don't want to say it either, especially since it's Ian's team. But you have to recognize.
I'm sad Ian isn't here today. I wanted to.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. Hey, I like doing the pod with you too, Jared. Yeah, did you want to replace me?
No,
or you didn't like my takes.
I was gonna get replaced.
All right, true. You're irreplaceable.
Hey,
all right,
you know what? I love and appreciate that, Steve.
No, Jared. I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to the audience.
Oh,
I was talking to the audience. Thank you for hanging around all the way to the end. We close this out on a lovely note. We recorded this on Tuesday. There's a lot of question marks. Lock up some of those games. Get the waiver wires done. Come back to us on Friday, and we will have more definitive answers for those last-minute pushes, whether it's fantasy or your betting lines or whatever it may be. Tomorrow we got college football. We'll see you then. We got to end this thing, but thank you for checking out with us. We'll see you next time. Come, gobble. Come, gobble.